effective leadership communication is also about creating the conditions where employees get to see you, know you, build a relationship with you, trust you. And a big part of that, especially at the enterprise level, really boils down to the quality of our communication. And so, storytelling is it's a powerful way for us to, build energy and momentum, align employees sort of share purpose and common goal, create meaningful connection. And I think that it's an important part of being an executive. And so, when I think about these two stories that every leader needs to have, one idea is your leadership origin story. I mean, I think so much of an origin story is about where we come from, the values we hold, what inspires us, how we became the person we are today. And I think giving people, teams, an organization line of sight into the experiences in your life that have shaped you is a very powerful way to be viewed as someone that's a little more human, perhaps more approachable, and a whole lot like everybody else. And it's actually a powerful tool, team exercise, if everybody actually thinks through this and goes around. And I think it's just, it's important. And when you look at great leaders, and some that have inspired me, I think about like Howard Schultz. I'm a big fan of his journey at Starbucks. And lately I've been really closely following Satya Nadella at Microsoft. They have these powerful origin stories, the experiences in their life, the mentors, the events that unfolded, the inflection points, the defining moments that shaped the leader, the person, the values that they hold so closely today. It's good to think about this, develop the skill, or at least prepare in advance. Like, if you knew you had a leadership origin story and wherever you walked around in life, you could tell that story. And then if you had a story of your 3 defining moments, and you could pull on those defining moments based on that helped shape the leader you are today. And then if you had stories around your biggest weaknesses and how you overcame them, and if you had a best boss lesson story and a worst boss lesson story, all of a sudden you have this beautiful storybook. And you can still be analytical in your thinking, but you've just done the work to catalog and archive this. And it's a great exercise in self-awareness too, because a lot of people don't even realize how they became the way they became. And you trace these things back and you sort of pulled some color around it, and you realize things about yourself. It's like, oh, that defined me and shaped me, or oh, that was the most valuable lesson I learned from that mentor. Or, wow, I worked for that guy for 10 years and I learned more about what I don't want to be as a leader than what I do want to be. And these experiences shape us, but it's also a way for us to relate to other people. Only 13% of employees agree that leadership communicates effectively with an organization. Only 15% agree that the leadership of the organization makes them feel enthusiastic about the future. And only 22% of employees strongly agree that leaders in the organization have a clear direction for the future of the organization. So that's a failure to communicate, or at least communicate effectively. So the second story really is about visioning, and it's a story about, how the organization is going to grow into the future. There was a bit of research, an article about mindsets that growth leaders share. And if you adopt these mindsets, you're actually 2.5 times more likely to outperform your peer groups. And the number one mindset was actually having a growth mindset and telling a growth story consistently. It's the idea of consistently communicating both internally and externally a story about your growth and where you're going into the future and how you're going to get there. And that helps create alignment, enthusiasm, excitement. And it actually provides some confidence and clarity, into where the organization is going. It mitigates those horrific statistics about people not feeling enthusiastic about the future, or actually not believing that leaders are clear about where they're taking the organization. That's our responsibility as leaders. And it doesn't mean we have to have every nuance and detail figured out perfectly, about how we're going to get from where we are today to where we're going to be in the future. But I can see the future as, a founding partner of Impact 11. I consider it my responsibility to evangelize our growth story. We call it a movement, and we talk about the value we're going to provide and how it's expanding. And so it energizes people, both our customers and our employees, all our stakeholders, frankly. And just because I don't know exactly how it's going to unfold, or, at a granular level, doesn't mean that I shouldn't be reinforcing that message and that vision with regularity and consistency. And then there's all these beautiful examples around us of it happening. And so I think, leaders need to be thoughtful and deliberate about grabbing these stories to serve as an example of how we can inspire and instill confidence about the future in our teams and our people. We have to give ourselves permission to be more vulnerable, to be more human, because when we're doing that, we actually help other people around us feel seen, heard, understood, and valued. And I think that's part of the way we connect, communicate, influence culture, and build high-performing teams. And it's humans.